Steve, I have lost about $20,000 today in the stock market.
In one day.
Okay, not lost. It's gone down.
Yeah. Don't
what
worry.
the heck is going on?
It's not lost, man. It's not lost. So first of all, stay cool, stay calm. It ain't lost. It's just on paper. But that's a huge hit to take in one day for sure. 20K down. Wow.
I mean, yeah, it's been 2 days of like not good days for the stock market, but it's also, I don't know, it feels like, you would know better than I do, but it feels like things are just way too expensive in general with stocks that like, I'm kind of just waiting for the dip. So I'm kind of like relieved now, like it's happening, you know, I don't know why, even though I'm losing. So I think I was up on Tesla, I was up like 47% or something like that at one point. Now it's at 15%.
Yeah, Tesla's like one of the main one that's like leading the fall, which is, you know, if you want to be a Tesla buyer, it's like, hey, that's pretty attractive now. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I had just put out like my past two most recent videos were like kind of about how the stock market was overvalued. So it's like, hey, that was
I told you so.
Pretty good timing.
Yeah, it's funny because like I've read so many books about investing and stuff, and like I have only really gotten into it in the past like year or two. But it's still so, like, the brain naturally thinks when the stocks are going up, like, I should buy. And then as soon as they start going down, you're like, I need to sell, or like, I should not be buying right now. But it's the opposite, right? Like when, you know, well, I'm investing for the long term. I don't know about you, but like, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, wait, this is a discount right now. Like maybe I should start buying right now, you know?
Yeah, it's funny how like you buy something and you think this is a great company, like I love them, I love their product, like all this stuff. But then if their price goes down, then your brain starts thinking, is there something wrong actually with this company? Like, is their product maybe not good? But it's like, no, it's just the price. Like, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah, you have to keep reminding yourself that it's not like, okay, we could talk about Bitcoin or something like that, but like it's a company that you're owning a piece of, and like that company is still doing its thing. And I think as long as you choose right or just go with index funds, like over the long term, it's probably gonna do pretty well. So just chill, even when it's going down.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I was just excited to tell you about my losses.
I know.
I think we should maybe introduce ourselves for the people that don't know. You are Steve. I am Matti. Who are you, Steve?
I am Steve, and Steve is a kind of new guy on the financial scene on YouTube, I guess, a new content creator, as I guess they're called. I got a YouTube channel called Cash College, where I basically try and teach people basically the financial stuff that they missed in school, essentially, because I felt like, going through life, there's not really any point in time where you're taught good financial like habits, personal finance, all that stuff, investing. So I wanted to create a place where people could learn about that in a really easy to understand and fun way to understand as well. So started creating YouTube videos about that, and yeah. It's been going great.
Wait, you're being modest. You're starting to like pop off a little bit. How many subs? I've got to look it up right now. How many subs do you have now? You're doing well. 34. Okay, everybody go subscribe to Cash College right now. He's got 34,900 subs. But I met you, when did we meet? Like about a year ago-ish?
Yeah. I think pretty much right before Corona came is when we met, I think.
Right before. And I remember I think I was looking up stuff about index funds or Questrade or something like that, and then your videos started getting suggested to me, and I saw your channel. I was like, man, this is really good. And I thought that you were a filmmaker who knew something about money, and you're like, oh, I'll make a money channel. But actually, you're like a money guy, somebody who knows finances really well. And you just like happen to be somehow really good at filmmaking stuff too.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had been just kind of dabbling as like a hobby and like filmmaking and stuff like that for a long time, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I kind of combined like that love for filmmaking with like the knowledge of personal finance and just put those two things together, and that's what kind of formed Cash College. So yeah, it came together in a really cool way.
Yeah, you like when I found your channel, I was like, this guy in a year or two will be one of the big finance channels, 100%. And you're already like on that trajectory of like starting to grow pretty fast. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Matti Hapoya. I'm a filmmaker, YouTuber. Isn't it weird to call yourself a YouTuber?
Yeah.
Or a content creator. Or
Yeah.
definitely not like influencer. Everybody's always like, oh, I don't want to be called it. And like for some
Yeah.
reason, it just feels yucky.
It's weird when you get like applications, like whatever kind of forms these days. Like I had to fill one out for a new investment account, and it's like job title and like job category. And I was looking through them. I'm like, I don't find anything in here that like describes what I do really.
Where's YouTuber?
Yeah, where's YouTuber exactly?
So yeah, I have like 1 million something subscribers now. Recently passed 1 million. That was like a massive achievement for me.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like 100,000. Once you hit 100,000, that's when it's like, holy crap! Like this could be my thing. Like this is actually happening. So I feel like 100,000 in a way still felt bigger than 1 mil, but definitely nice. I was pumped about it. Also a dad of 2 kids, and that keeps my life pretty insane right now.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you balance all that. That's crazy.
It's funny. I always laugh at people who are like, whether they're single or married but don't have kids, and they're like, oh, I'm so busy, I have like no time to do anything. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you have so much time that you get to decide what to do with that time. For me, it's literally like don't get me wrong, I love my kids, I love being with my family, but it's, you do your work and then you go home and it's kid stuff. Like it's not your time. It's now, you're playing with the kids. You got to take them outside, take them sledding or whatever. And then you spend your time, like changing diapers and putting them in bed. And then you have like maybe a half an hour of like actual free time. And then what happens is for me, I just stay up later and then I'm tired in the morning. It's like you want that free time to yourself so bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once they get a little bit older, then I guess it comes back, once you can finally like ship them off out of the house and stuff like that. I know that ever since like, I moved out of my house and all that stuff, my parents have been like, whew, like glad all that's over. We can finally chill out of it now.
I think it's one of those things that like you will realize later just how rewarding it is to have kids. I don't know what is this, a parenting podcast? This is not a parenting podcast, but man, like definitely you learn so much through kids. What is this podcast about? We haven't even really discussed what this podcast is about. So I want to hear your version first.
Yeah, at this point, I guess it's about life. It's about life, man. Parenting,
about kids.
Investing, YouTubing.
It's about how much money I'm losing on the stock market.
Yeah. No, I think this would be a great way to kind of have just like a fun, casual discussion between, somebody who is in like the creative space and like really in the creative space like you are, but you also have a really good grasp of like personal finance too, even though you lost 20K today, like, you still have like a pretty good idea what you're kind of doing there. And then
I'm still up.
Yeah,
Steve. I haven't lost money. It's just a down day.
Yeah, you're still up. And then I have like a pretty good foothold in the personal finance world, but I also do understand like the creative side of things too, because I've been, doing a little bit of the filmmaking stuff as well. So combining those two worlds, I think, is going to be really cool, and a lot of people find that really interesting.
Yeah, we called it Creator Coin because we want to talk about the creator world, the creator economics, but also just finances and money. I feel like you said, a lot of people they've never been really taught when they're growing up how money works and how you should use it and how it can actually be really beneficial to you if you use it right. So I think that's like, we get to explore pretty much anything to do with money and creators and all this stuff. And it's also, the creator world is such a wild, wild west right now. Like it's still so early days that everybody's just kind of like figuring out what's happening. Like, oh, affiliate links. Oh, this thing, brand deals, like NFTs. Like what the heck are NFTs? Like, I feel like you need to do some research and teach us about NFTs, because somehow Logan Paul, I think, made like $3 million or something like that selling NFT cart. I don't even know what's going on.
I like when I research something, like on my laptop right now, I have so many like tabs open of just like articles I need to read, and I have a couple open for like NFTs in the metaverse of like digital assets, and it's all this new crazy world that I just can't wait to like dive into and understand. So we can definitely talk about that in the future for sure.
It's nice to have like a license to go and research this stuff for this podcast, just so we can, you know, like, it's research. It's important stuff for the podcast. But I think we're maybe also like, I definitely, you know, I think we both do have a good understanding of how we can monetize, and the potential in monetizing something like an audience on YouTube. Like YouTube is so strong, and I think a lot of people don't have that understanding, especially a lot of the YouTubers. They're really creative people. And I find at least that creative people aren't necessarily business minded. They might be super good at the creative side and what they do, but then they're not so good at the business side of things. And so they lose out a ton. And so whenever I meet other content creators, I'm like, are you doing this thing? And they're like, no, I don't know. I'm like, oh, you like, please start doing it. Like, you know, this could be like huge for you. And when I started doing YouTube, so I come from like the freelancing filmmaking world, you know. At the end of my freelance career, I was starting to shoot for bigger companies like Nike and stuff. And like I was making pretty good money, but within the first year of doing YouTube, I was already making more money doing YouTube than shooting for Nike. And that's when it was just like, oh, I thought this was going to be like a side project. And then within the first year, I was like, no, this is the main thing. Like, this is way bigger than I could have ever imagined. I just thought it was going to be like, you know, a little bit of passive income on the side.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, the crazy thing is I feel like a lot of creatives are also some of the hardest working people in the world, you know? Like,
100%.
They work incredibly hard at what they do. So it's only fair that they find a way to, like, be fairly compensated for that, like, incredible work that they do. And I think the incredible thing about YouTube and other social media platforms is you take yourself from a scale of 1 to a scale of essentially infinite, right? Like however many people want to see what you do, listen to what you have to say, you can scale yourself like across vast amounts of, you know, people in a way that I think most other kind of paths don't allow you to do.
I think that's one of the coolest things nowadays is literally you can be into anything from like filmmaking to finances to like Pokemon cards. And if you're really passionate about that and you're knowledgeable or you're really into it, you can make a living off of whatever it is. Like there's dudes that are like building cabins in the middle of the forest of nowhere. And like they're getting millions of views because it's so fascinating watching these people kind of like live out their passion. You know, like 10, 20, 30 years ago, if you're like a ballet dancer, how do you make money? Like you either have to be a legit ballet dancer and like work your way up till you're doing like shows or whatever, performances and getting paid for that, which is probably super highly contested. Or you have to like teach a ballet class, but that's basically all you had. Now you can like, oh, I want to make like, you know, a TikTok account and like, you know, like, or I want to teach ballet through YouTube. And now all of a sudden you can be teaching millions of kids instead of just those like 15 in your small town, you know. I think it's so awesome, like the potential in that.
And it's also completely like breaking down old business models too, right? Like I think of kind of me, somebody who was on a path to become like a traditional financial advisor at one point. Like, you know, I had done a bunch of like my exams I needed to do that. Like I was headed down that route, but then for kind of like personal reasons, I decided that wasn't the right route for me. But with something like YouTube, you can kind of share financial insights and stuff like that, information, help people out. And they don't have to pay anything to access that. They just have to go onto YouTube, watch one of your videos, and instead of you having a one-on-one meeting with somebody, you can kind of simulate that one-on-one meeting with like hundreds, thousands, millions of people. So it's like it completely destroys that old like traditional business model of like what a financial advisor would traditionally be, right? So it just opens up possibilities like crazy.
Yeah, it's like the democratization of pretty much any area,
Anything.
any industry. You know, like you no longer have to work for the big guys. Now all of a sudden, if you have, you know, like a big finance channel like Graham Stephan or somebody, you got millions of followers, millions of subscribers. You're kind of on the same level, if not maybe even above in some ways, of like the big guys who used to control everything, and you had to work for those big guys, and like you had to, you know, work day and night for them to do what they wanted.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're kind of brought to like the same level as them. I think that's really interesting.
And it's literally just a dude in I think it's his garage that he films in with just like...
It's incredible.
And that's just all it is. And he's affecting the lives of millions of people. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's, literally, he is changing like millions of people's lives.
Yeah.
I like channels like Graham Stephan, for example, where like he knows how to play the YouTube game really well. Like you look at his titles and thumbnails, and like he knows what he's doing, and like he gets you with that clickbait, but it's the good kind of clickbait because you click on it and you watch it and you're like, okay, it's not snake oil, you know, it's not scammy. It's like, you know, like, okay, I learned something, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's, I don't know. The more I see what's happening in the creator world, the more I just want to, like, everybody I talk to, I'm like, hey, you should start a YouTube channel. you should start making some content online. Like, there could be like so many possibilities for you online right now.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of rubbing off on Justine. That's my girlfriend. People who watch Cash College will know her, that she's made a couple appearances and stuff like that. But I think she's kind of thinking about potentially like starting something like that in the future, just because, like we said, like it kind of democratizes almost all paths, industries, all that stuff, and just opens up opportunities for you, even if it's not something that you want to do full-time and devote your life to. Even part-time, it can be extremely beneficial to do it like that as well.
Yeah, and I always say, like, even if you don't become a full-time YouTuber, TikToker, Instagram, or whatever, the skills you learn, about your niche, the thing that you're passionate about, you learn way more about that. But also you'll learn, some photography skills, taking thumbnails, some video editing skills or filming skills. And like all those things are also crazy valuable. And so like maybe you don't don't make a full-time YouTube channel, but then you take those things and you start working for somebody else. And now you have this skill set that a lot of other people don't have and a lot of people want right now. So I think it's like a win-win, even if it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to turn out or you thought it was going to turn out, you still win in the end.
Yeah. Like I can honestly say so I've been doing YouTube for a little bit over a year now, and it's by far been like the hardest thing that I think I've ever done in my life, but also the most rewarding, because like the like personal growth I've experienced in that short period of time is like probably like 10 years just compressed into that like 1 year. Like I feel like I've learned and just grown so much as like a person throughout that whole process.
That's one of the biggest things I realized. I used to look at, like the Kardashians, for example, and I used to think like, wow, they really do nothing and they make that much money. That used to be my stance on people like that. And then now doing YouTube, I'm like, holy crap, it's a lot of work. Like anybody that's, big on social media or big in the mainstream, media, anybody that has that attention is most likely working crazy hours to make that happen. It does not happen by just getting lucky or just by sitting around. You need to work hard. And I make more money doing YouTube than I did freelancing for the filmmaking companies and agencies and stuff. but I also work way more because it's an infinite amount of work. There's never a week where you're like, man, I got everything done, eh? Like there's always like, oh, I could have made a TikTok, or I could have posted on Instagram, or I could have worked on the next video for YouTube. There's an infinite amount of work.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, normal jobs you're like 40 hours, you clock out, and that, you're probably like you're done. You're done after that. In the creative fields, technically it's never ever done, because there's always that next thing you could do. There's always that more research you could do like it never ends. So it's definitely important, I think, to like set limits for yourself and like divide your time up purposefully so that you don't spend all of your time focusing on it, because I think you can go a little bit crazy doing that. And that's one of the things that I'm kind of learning how to navigate like in my first year of this, because it's such a big lifestyle shift from like traditional job to this, that managing your time is really, really important. So yeah, that's something that I'm still figuring out and working on for sure.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned, you recently went full-time YouTube. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But I feel like we need to save that for the next episode.
Probably.
I think we'll talk about that in the
story,
next one.
Yeah.
All right, let's cut it here. We will see you guys in the next episode.
All right. Later.